Hello, I'm Greg. Welcome to my channel, Midnight Oil Software, and episode 2 of my Highland Panic Dev Log series. In this series, I'm going to be doing a deep dive into the architecture, design, and implementation of Highland Panic. But before I do that, I want to give you a quick overview of the game as it currently stands and show you some of the changes that I recently made in response to user acceptance testing feedback. So let's just fire up Steam and look at the game. So this build is an older build that I had pushed up to Steam, and there's some issues in it that I got some feedback on that I really wanted to address. So first thing I'm going to show you is here on this login screen, you got these arrows to scroll through the portraits, and it's not evident to the user that you can just click on the portrait and open this portrait selection dialog. And also there's some scaling problems on this thing I needed to address. Another issue on this screen, actually on all the screens, there's a tutorial you can open. But in order to navigate through it, you got to click these little arrow buttons. And then the button isn't in the same place on the first screen as it is on all the other ones. So that can be annoying. So I'm addressing both of those in the next build that I'm going to show you. But let's go ahead and log in. I'm going to show you the other really big problem. So here we are on the games screen. And as you can see, there are no games available. Now, since I'm in early user acceptance testing phase, there's not a lot of people playing the game, and so there's no games to join. If you were to create a game and say you wanted to create a game with 2, 3, or 4 players, you would just sit there and wait and hope somebody logged on so you can play. There's no start button, you can't do anything. Now, what isn't documented, but what you can do is you can create a one-player game, and then click start, and then you're basically playing solitaire. But, you know, there's a gazillion versions of solitaire out there. Why would you want to play mine? Not that you wouldn't want to play mine, but I mean, why would you choose it over any other version if that's all you want to do? Another thing I'm going to show you is these cards are kind of difficult to read on a phone, especially on a small device. So there's a difference between the girls and the boys. Now, on these piles here, what we call trading piles, you play cards in descending order, but they have to alternate girl, boy, right? So it's like in solitaire. I didn't have it on there. It's like in solitaire where you have to play alternating red and black. It's just in this case, it's alternating girl and boy. And for some reason, it's not letting me drag that there. It wasn't showing me the hitbox, so that was a bug. But at any rate, they also mention that this aliasing is unattractive. And so I'm totally redoing these card faces to get rid of the frame around the portrait, to get rid of this big border here, to make things a little bit bigger, and also to make it so that the little portraits here, the little icons, the boys are only on one corner, and then the girls are only on the other corners. That way you can kind of tell at a glance what's a girl and what's a boy, right? So those are the main changes that I'm making on this screen here. I am going to change these buttons to be aligned vertically. This button, which is a debug toggle for me to toggle on debug information, is only going to be available if I log in with a very particular user ID. So that's going to disappear for most users. I'm going to make this magnifying glass here a little bit bigger so it's easier to press on a phone. In fact, I'm making all the buttons a little bit bigger on the phone, these included. Well, I'm making them bigger across the board to make it easier to play on the phone. So that's enough for the old version that isn't working so good or that had a lot of issues with it. Let me open up the latest version that has my most recent changes. Okay, so one thing you can see here on the Select Portrait dialog, we no longer have these buttons, the arrow buttons, and it clearly says Select Portrait. And if you hover over it, you can see that it changes. If I click it, it opens up the Select Portrait dialog, and these are now scaled correctly. It looks great on every resolution I've tried it on. So boom, that's one improvement. Up here, you got the vertically aligned buttons. They're bigger now. And in the tutorial, I can just swipe instead of having to find these little buttons. The buttons still work, but you can just drag it across and it will go to the next page or the previous page. Now for the biggest change. This is what I think is going to make the demo worthwhile. When we come in here and create a game, and I'm going to create a 4-player game, but you're like, Greg, there's no other players online. Well, you know what? It doesn't matter. Because now we can add bots. So if I click Add Bot, I've got a bot. And the bots have a selectable skill level. The advanced bots are almost impossible to beat. The intermediate bots gives me a very competitive game. The beginner bots are pretty easy games. I mean, occasionally I might lose to a beginner bot, but most of the time I beat them pretty easily. So let's add a couple more bots. And we're going to change him up to advanced. And there's a bug where sometimes when I try to add the bot, the lobby service rejects my call, saying that I'm exceeding the rate at which I can poll it. You can only poll or make a call to the lobby service, the Unity lobby service, once every 2 seconds from the same computer. And what's happening behind the scenes here is I am periodically polling the lobby service to see if any other players have joined the game. And so I need to fix my retry logic that I put in there to make that happen. So I'll show you that code in a little bit. But first, let me just go ahead and try this again. We're going to add a bot. Make him intermediate, advanced, add a bot. Make him advanced, add a bot, and there we go, make him advanced. All right, so now if I click start, we have a 4-player game with advanced playing bots, and they play very, very quickly. It's really tough to beat these bots. Look at these card faces, and you can see that I have made quite a bit of difference to them. They look much simpler now, much easier to read. So you can tell more quickly at a glance which is a girl and which is a boy, which was the main gripe that I had before. But you can see how fast those bots are playing and how difficult it is to keep up with them. Already the round's over, and I'm going to have negative points because you get 1 point for every card you played to the middle here, and you lose 2 points for every card you still had in your panic pile at the end of the round. So I have negative 15, he's got negative 3, he's got 7, he's got negative 11. So this guy's totally kicking butt. And I wasn't really paying attention because I'm talking to you, so I could have done better than that, but I'm still going to have a really hard time keeping up with the bots as fast as they play. So that's enough of you watching me play. I am going to close down this game, and I'm going to take you into the app and show you how I architected it for multiplayer and show you some of the code and what I plan to do in the next installment. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about the architecture of the game. So I'm going to just show you some crude diagrams I made using Mermaid. This is a system diagram that shows that we're using Unity gaming services, including Netcode for GameObjects, Lobby, and Relay. And we have both desktop clients and mobile clients, so you can play cross-platform. If you're on a computer, you can play against somebody on an iPhone and vice versa. I may be also publishing to Android as well. So a little bit about the flow for when you want to create a game. So the clients, and the host is also a client, they will go through the lobby service and either create a lobby if you're going to be the host or join a game if you're joining as a client. The host will create a relay using the relay service and then use the port and IP address from that relay and save it as data in the lobby and then start their network host. The player joining the lobby will get that IP address and port from the lobby's data and start their network client. And then they communicate with each other through Netcode for GameObjects, going through that port that was given to them by the relay service. So no need to set up firewalls or open up ports or anything like that. The relay service takes care of all that for you. And then a quick overview of the sequence for playing a card in the game. So when you're playing a game, you're going to try and play a card from one pile to another. And the way I handle this in a multiplayer game is the player attempting to play a card will make a server RPC call to the game server specifying who they are that's playing the card that they're playing, the pile they're playing it from, and the pile they're playing it to. Now, both the client and the host have a copy of all the cards in the game, but the server, the host, is the source of truth for the game. And because this is a real-time game where people are playing to the same area in the center, someone might beat you to a play that even though the client thinks it's valid because they haven't got the update from the server yet, the server knows that's not a valid play. So the server will evaluate the play that was passed in, and if it's valid, it will send a client RPC call to all clients who will then show an animation playing the card from the source pile to the destination pile. If it was not valid, they will send a reject client RPC message to the player who attempted the play and give a reason why it couldn't play it. And that's just for debug purposes for me, but it's basically saying you can't play a green 7 on a green 7 or something like that. So that is the overall play sequence for playing a card in this multiplayer game. So next, I'm going to go back into the Unity project and show you a little bit about how I architected it in there. So now that we're back in the Unity editor, let me show you a little bit about how I architected the title scene. So the title scene is where you log in, and it's also got the lobby where you create games and join games. So the login dialog I'll just cover briefly. It's got the buttons for starting the game. It's got a button to open up the portrait selection dialog. And we'll go look at the code there real quick. And we'll scroll down to this on login button clicked. So basically, this is a method that's going to kick off logging in to the game and logging into Unity. I put this in a region here so you wouldn't see the super secret login I use to enable my debug buttons. But if we go into the login authentication manager here, you see that we have a property to get our lobby manager. And when you log in anonymously, I basically pop up a little message saying, hey, I'm logging you in. And then we call the authentication login method. Now, the authentication is going to use the Unity's authentication service to sign you in anonymously. Okay, so this is basically going to get you signed in to the Unity gaming services. And there are events that I have here that I will fire so that the lobby manager can know, okay, they're signed in now. Now I can hide the login dialog and I can show the game dialog. So we'll go back to Unity and I'll show you that. So we get rid of the login dialog here, and then we open up the lobby UI. Okay, this is where you have your screen where you can create a game, right? And so this also will fire events, but we'll go ahead and look at the code here. Actually, this is going to interact directly with the lobby manager. And so I have this update method here that is basically checking to see if we should refresh our games list. All right, and so this is going to go out and see if there's any games. It's going to basically query the lobby service to say, hey, are there any games that we could join? All right, and we're basically going to make sure we exclude any that has our ID in it. That's our game. We don't want that. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to basically set a flag that says you can't join this game if they're on a different version than you are. I'll get into that in more detail later, but because when I update versions of the game, it might become incompatible with previous versions. I thought the simplest thing would just be to make it so you can see games with other versions in the list, and it will show the version number in the list, and it'll show your version number at the bottom of the screen. But I don't want you to be able to join that game if you're on a different version, just to keep it simple from not having compatibility problems. And so I will either enable or disable a join button on the game, but that's actually going to be in another class. That's in the game panel class. So going back out to the Unity editor, I want to show you how the games here has a content which is basically just got a vertical layout group, right? So I can just drop game panels into this content and they will display nicely in here vertically. And it's also going to scroll. It has a content size fitter, and we're going to allow you to scroll if there's more games than can fit on the screen. And I have this little no games message that will display if there are no games available. All right, so let's go look at our prefabs for the lobby and look at our game panel. And this is the panel that actually displays the host of the game, the name of the game, and then how many players can join the game. And it'll show you like 1 of 4, 2 of 4, 3 of 4, that sort of thing. We can go look at the code for that. And one thing I want to point out in here is update details is getting information from the lobby, right? And we're going to update our player count on the lobby. We're checking to see what the game state in the lobby is. If it's not equal to waiting for players, then we're going to disable the join button, disable the version text, and just return. Otherwise, we're going to check and see if we're already in the game. And in the other hand, this is the important thing I was talking about earlier. We compare the lobby version or the games version to our version. And if they are the same, then I'll activate this join button and I'll deactivate the version message that I display down here if you are not on the same version. So we'll jump back out into the Unity editor and go take a look at that incompatible version message. It basically says you can only connect to clients running the same version. So that will display at the bottom of the game panel. And this does not look right when it's outside of the actual game screen. It's just the way the UI scaling and stuff works. But take my word for it. If we were on a different version, you would see the version number of the game with an asterisk next to it. And then you would see at the bottom of the panel, you can only connect to clients running the same version. So that's the lobby UI. What about the game screen? So the game screen is the screen that gets displayed when you've joined a game or if you've created a game. And this is where we're going to show the players who have joined the game. And you guessed it, there are player panels that I would add to the game that has all the information about the player, their portrait, if they're a bot, their skill level, including the buttons to increase or decrease the skill level for the bot. And I'm using the same panel prefab for bots as I am for human players. Jump in there and just take a quick look at that code. I initialize that with all the information about the player. We subscribe to the click events for the different buttons. And then we handle certain button click events. If we got kicked, or we're kicking a player, we're going to fire the player kicked event so that we can knock that bot or that human player out of the game. If we leave the game, we want to fire an event saying, hey, we left the game, so we can get our player removed from the lobby. And I'll show you where those events are handled a little bit later. So that is basically it. The game screen itself has a button to join the game. Oh, that's the game panel. Let me go to the... I don't think I opened up the game screen, did I? Let's go back to the editor. Take this, double click that. So there's lots of events here. If we click start, we're going to fire that event. If we add a bot, we're going to fire that event. If we left the game, we're going to fire that event. And if we were kicked from the game, or if a player was kicked from the game, we're going to fire that event. So let's take a look at on start game clicked. So I play a sound that I'm starting the game. I deactivate this dialog and I fire the start pressed event. So if you go back and look at where that's called from, the lobby manager is subscribing to that. And if you look at what the lobby manager does with that, he tells the matchmaking service to lock the lobby. And I'll show you that code in a minute. This is my class. And this is where I'm updating data on the lobby, saying that the game state is locked. And I'm setting the, I'm setting the game state to starting. Lock lobby is something I set on a lobby so nobody else can try and join it. And then I use the network manager singleton to unsubscribe from the client connected and disconnect callbacks. These are what I was using to see if a player connected or disconnected from the game. And then I'm going to load the game scene. So this is where we use the network manager's scene manager to load the scene. And this will load the scene on all clients. Okay, so that's something that happens there. Let me jump into this code here. So this class here is my network manager. All right, and this has a lot of code for interacting with the lobby service, just to kind of abstract things out from my lobby manager. This function here will gather all the lobbies. All right, and I use that to, I use this query lobbies async to get all the lobbies, and I populate this lobbies variable here, and I return it. And all the network stuff is asynchronous, so you got to make sure you make these async functions and use await on these calls. If I'm creating a lobby with allocation, I've got to set up all this data in the lobby. So for one thing, I need to call the relay service, create an allocation, and then I'm going to get that join code, and I'm going to make that a data point in the lobby. So I have a bunch of constants that I use both for preferences and for lobby data. And so here we have a join key is just J, and then I'm going to save that join key as game data. So basically everything in the lobby data is a dictionary with a string key to a data object. So I have to create a data object and then put the actual data that I'm saving as part of that object. So for instance, the game state, I add the game state key and then a data object which has waiting for players as my state. The protocol version key, which I'm using from the application version. The num bot players key, which I'm going to initialize to 0 because this is creating a game, remember? I'm creating a new game, so there's no bots yet. And then I'm initializing all 3 bots to be empty. So that's it. And I set the isPrivate flag to a setting that I have in lobby data, which I passed in here. But currently, I don't have the ability in the game to create private games. In the future, I plan to implement private games, so I'll have a little checkbox when you create the game private, and that way nobody else will see the game in the lobby, and you can just send a join code to the players that you want to have join. Or I may have an ability in the future using the Unity Friends system to maybe invite friends to the game. But at any rate, I call this create lobby async with my lobby data name. The lobby data is max players, and then all these options that I set up here. That creates the lobby. And then I have to call this heartbeat. And this is an asynchronous function that's going to constantly keep running. And it's basically just going to delay for this many seconds in between heartbeats. And we have to do this to keep the lobby alive. If we don't send these heartbeat pings to the lobby, then the lobby will shut down. So that's what that's all about. Let's see, what else do we do when we create the lobby? Go back to where I was. All right, yeah, then we call this periodically refresh lobby. And this is another async function, which is going to go out and get the lobbies so we can keep our current lobby refreshed. All right, so we're basically going out with this lobby ID and saying, give me all the data for this lobby. So if I add another bot, or if I change the skill level of a bot, I want this to get updated so that everybody has the current state of the lobby. So all the clients will see it updated on their machine. What else do we have in this class? Already did that. Lock lobby. This is where I update the lobby and basically set this item to be is locked equal true. If you're joining a lobby, it's a little bit simpler. All we do is we take our player, our current player, and we send that as options to the join lobby by async, passing in the lobby ID. And then we use this join allocation async to join the relay using the join key that we got from the lobby data. So we also will call periodically refresh lobby when we join a lobby, starting that async function on our machine. Adding a bot player is very similar to this, except I've got to set up all the data for the bot, and I'm not actually joining the game again because the client who created the game, the host, he's already in the game. So all I need to do is add the data for the bot to the lobby. And then I handle leaving the lobby. If you're the host, I'm going to delete it. Otherwise, I'm just going to remove myself from it. And all these things can throw exceptions. So you want to make sure you catch exceptions. If I am kicking a player, I will remove them from the lobby using this method here. And again, this is all pretty straightforward. I'm just saying remove bot player or remove human player. Remove bot player is just going to remove that data from the lobby. The removing the human player is actually going to remove the player from the lobby. And then there's code here to close a lobby, which we want to stop those async functions that we had running. And then we want to shut it down. If we have a non-null lobby, we want to make sure we shut down that network manager. And then these are just some helper functions to check, is a player in a game? And then this is the function I call to update the lobby game state. And this is a function, a little helper function to create the player. So I have preferences, which I use to load and save things like the player's name, the player's portrait, and things like that. And so I have default values if they don't already exist in preferences. So I'm basically getting a player name, player portrait, setting all that data on the player. Pretty standard stuff. All right, so I think that's about it for the login dialog. I think I covered the matchmaking service, authentication manager. So let me look at the lobby manager again and see if there's anything I should cover in here. I think I covered all of that. Yeah, I think I'm going to pretty much call that it. So that's a wrap for this video. If you found that useful, and I really hope you did, do me a favor and click the like and subscribe button, and also click that notification icon so you can be notified when my next devlog video comes out. And if you haven't already, jump over to Steam. I'll put a link in the description and wishlist this game. And if you're interested in testing my iPhone version, I'll put a link in the description as well so you can join the beta test program. And if you have any comments or feedback, suggestions, criticisms, jump over to my Discord server and leave me any feedback you can think of about how I can make this game better, anything that you would like to see in it. And, any suggestions or comments, I'm open to it. So I think that's about it for this video. In the next video, I plan to cover some of the gameplay logic, show you how I implemented the AI for the bots, and I don't know, we'll see what else comes along. So thanks so much for watching, and good luck on your game development journey.